again to Houston to On the Money from the team at Allied Wealth. Matt Stevenson, Peter Lott. I'm your host, Spike Spangle. Fellas, how are you doing this week? Peter, let me start with you.
Spike, I'm awesome, but I'm not as good as you. You just got back from Hawaii. So, I mean, I'm just a normal, average working guy.
I found out that the ocean is a powerful beast.
She can be.
Yeah, I'm really not that good of a surfer.
Maybe more of a boogie boarder.
Yeah,
we have that in common.
Even then, it was tough. But talk about rough financial waves.
Yes.
That's literally what I was thinking the whole time. I was catching my breath out on the beach, but I was able to get off onto the sand, relax, and catch my breath. For those who are in retirement right now, there is no place to go catch their breath, right? I mean, the inflation is rampant. The markets are still incredibly volatile. We feel like we're being held underwater right now for in retirement.
Guys, it's crazy. I mean, we haven't had to worry about inflation in decades. Interest rates are higher than they've been in 40 years. You know, we've never seen this amount of volatility.
The Mississippi River's running dry, and if you put all those together, you've got a Hank Williams song somewhere, right?
But, you know, so much is weighing on people's minds today than it was, say, 20 or 30 years ago.
It is.
And that's why retirement is so much different, and the ways in which we build a plan also has to be different to be able to navigate these rough waters.
Well, and unfortunately, I was not able to join you. As you said, I was out of office, but you recently did your retirement summit. And we had a lot of people show up, and we're talking about that, how retirement today is different than it was 30 years ago. You're talking about taxation and retirement, the different ways that you need to invest and have tactical management. What kinds of questions were you receiving from the summit? You were getting able to see people face to face. What was that like?
We saw a lot, didn't we? I mean,
we had so much response. So in between the breaks, after the class was over, Spike, you know, it was so much of, I'm down 20 or 30% with my portfolio. I'm doing this on my own. I'm working with another advisor. I didn't know the amount of risk I was taking. And now I was thinking about retiring in the next year or two. I feel like I've got to work an extra 4 or 5 years.
That's the common thread right now. I can't retire in the next year like I thought I was going to be able to. I'm going to have to push this out another year or two. And who really wants to do that, right? I mean, retirement is this big day that you've been working hard your whole life for. You're going to kick off on a vacation for the rest of your life. Who wants to go and prolong work now? Not just because of what's going on in the market. I don't want my retirement tied to the news, to the Fed, the interest rates, to whatever political thing.
I don't want to play overtime with my own.
You're playing roulette.
Yeah, I don't want to with my own work schedule.
And if your luck's like mine, you're going to have to retire on the down days, and inflation's up, and all these things are going on. And why do you want to do that? Why take that stress and do that?
Well, so which were you getting more of at the summit? Were you getting people who were right before retirement going, I might have to work longer? Or folks who were in retirement worried about how much their accounts had gone down?
It was a mix of both. You know, people that were right on the cusp, you know, a year or two, even a couple of months out from retirement. Even the folks that had just freshly retired, now seeing this sequence of events unfold around us where, you know, we haven't seen in decades, right? And
decades, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, right? Things were a lot different. It's changed that fast.
Months ago, yeah.
Huge concern about, can I stay retired? Do I have to go get a part-time job? Is my family going to be taken care of if things continue like this? And that's exactly why we have classes like that. That's exactly why we do education around how do we navigate and build a plan for an environment that is so much different nowadays.
Well, for folks who are watching the program right now, maybe we could explain a little bit on why retirement today is so different than it used to be. First of all, let's go right to pensions. Really don't exist that much anymore. Federal government, yes. Teachers, those in police and safety, usually they still have retirement plans.
But think too, Matt, what is happening with pensions right now? They're going down.
Exactly.
Right? If I work another year, I'm going to lose 6 figures of my pension. Why is that?
Yeah, because, and we'll talk more on the relationship of a pension's basically a huge bond fund, and interest rates have shot through the moon, and it's affecting those pension values. But to your point, Spike, you know, you retire 20 years ago, maybe you worked for a company for 30 or 40 years, you get the cool retirement party and the gold watch. You get all of your income replaced from Social Security and your pension through your company. I think the statistic is somewhere between 10 to 15% of companies now offer a pension plan. That used to be almost all of them. And so back in the early 80s, the script basically shifted to where we have to self-fund our own retirement. And so people are out there making decisions about, how do I invest these dollars? How do I save? maybe they know what they're doing, maybe they don't. But it's leaving the onus on us to make sure that we remain successful. And that also coincides with all this volatility, the dot-com crash, 08, 09, the pandemic downturn, whatever ends up happening from this current environment. And people have a lot of emotion around, can I navigate that? Am I confident enough in my plan to maybe look elsewhere, get a second opinion on what I'm doing? That's exactly why we're having this discussion, to be able to alleviate those concerns.
Well, the planning that we do at Allied Wealth, it's built in. I'm expecting the market to drop 30% in the years of your retirement years, 2, 3, maybe 4 times.
It's going to happen sometime.
Because we know it's going to happen. But a lot of these plans that are coming in, that are the callers calling in, they didn't have this plan. They didn't know this thing existed. They didn't know the risk that lurked inside their portfolio. And now they're thinking, I've lost all this money. What am I going to do? How do I get and recover the assets? How do I stay retired? There's all these different conversations that are coming in.
Matt, you were saying that interest rates were going up, and it sounded almost like it was accidental or it was just happening. Now, there are people pulling the levers, making interest rates going up right now. As you even said, a few months ago, we couldn't even imagine interest rates being where they're at. Right now, they're going to be pushing towards 6%.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe moving into next year, even 7%. The people who are pushing those interest rates, is this helping retirees right now, or is this crushing folks?
No,
Yeah.
it's killing folks.
And even a year or two ago, interest rates were basically zero, right? And because of all this inflation, supply chain, demand chain issues, what have you, the Federal Reserve is raising interest rates seemingly every month, and a lot.
Is it making a big dent?
Maybe, maybe not.
I think in the housing market, we're seeing that, where they're trying to curb inflation. I'm not seeing it so much. And maybe it is still supply chain. Housing market cooled down. Just so many things have changed in the last 10 months. And without having a financial advisor, without having a written financial plan that addresses things like inflation, your costs, your fees, then you're really just flying into retirement blind.
What I'm seeing a lot right now is people have a 401k. They're over age 59 and a half. They're allowed to do what's called an in-service withdrawal. So they can pull these funds out of their 401k, move it tax-free over to a self-directed IRA, and then have someone help them. Because right now their 401ks are sitting ducks. They don't know what to do. The funds are in, God knows what the funds are in. They don't really understand it. No one's there to kind of help them guide it, so they can move that through that in-service withdrawal and actually have some help with it.
Yeah, and when we see market drawdowns like this, that's when your 401k becomes a 201k. Because if you're subjected to this amount of risk, you've only got limited options, usually in your retirement plan. And so many folks are tied to the success or the failure of our stock market, the S&P 500, the Dow Jones, all the stuff that we see the talking heads talk about on the nightly news, right? But there are other ways to do things. And so being more tactical in nature, getting more consistent results with how your money operates, yeah, maybe we give up some of the upside potential in the best years of the market. But when we're seeing this type of environment that can put people behind going into retirement, how do we eliminate that as much as we can to create a reliable future and income stream when it matters most?
Peter, tell the viewers, I've got to take a break real quick. I'm going to give away a complimentary book, The Stress-Free Retirement. But tell folks out there exactly what the financial flight plan is before I get to that.
So the financial flat plan is going to look at how much risk you're taking in your portfolio. That is huge. It's going to look at taxes inside your portfolio. It's going to look at how are you going to pay for health care inside through your distributions. It's going to look at how to create an income stream for life without running out of money. Have I missed anything?
It's leaving an efficient legacy.
Legacy planning as well, too.
Right.
Legacy planning is a big one as well, because if you don't do that right, you could put your legacy plan to a huge tax burden.
They're all tied together.
Right. So much more to cover. We're going to talk about taxation and retirement, which they also did at the Retirement Summit. But to get a complimentary copy of the book, Stress-Free Retirement, for the first 20 callers, we're also going to give that out. So call for your own complimentary financial flight plan, and then we want to get into your hands. No cost to you whatsoever, not even the shipping and handling. Call us for your stress-free retirement book. 844-944-7555. More On the Money with the team from Allied Wealth when we get back right after this.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have. By running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review today.
Welcome back to On the Money with the team from Allied Wealth, Matt Stevenson, Peter Lott. Man, you guys should hear us on the breaks. You know, we do an hour-long radio show together every single week as well, and there's so much that we cover on the television program here. We try to pack it into 30 minutes if we can. So many things that are out there, though. Let's talk a tiny bit about layoffs, what's going on. We saw FedEx recently. They furloughed 47,000 people. That doesn't make sense to me as we're heading into the end of the year. It's the holiday season, it's the delivery season. There's a lot that is happening as we're moving into this recession that could possibly be lasting a lot longer, definitely longer than something like the pandemic up and down of the market. This is something that could be holding people down for a while, right?
Yeah, and we've talked about that dirty R word, recession, here for several months now. Are we already in one? Are we about to have one? We're starting to see the effects of that. Look at these huge tech companies, Amazon, you know, Twitter, say what you will about that, but the biggest companies that we have starting to see layoffs and, you know, maybe less revenue than they've had in the past. I see a lot of folks, especially coming to the classes and calling in from the TV show, where maybe they have their entire plan tied to individual companies. Hey, you know, Amazon or Apple stock has done awesome for years. I've been able to take advantage of that. But there are significant risks to tying your retirement plan to a single company or a single fund. And we see it so often because even though there have been great years for investments like that, we know that the difficult years will come. And when you need to use those dollars to replace your paycheck and maintain your lifestyle, we can't afford to have that risk.
Let's talk to home here in Houston. What about the big oil companies? Do we have as much of a worry there? Because I know oftentimes we have stock options inside our retirement plans at work, and we're working for a great organization. We know where we're at with oil pricing right now. Is there any reason why we should pump the brakes on our local companies here?
You know, certainly this is a better environment right now for our energy sector.
But that could change tomorrow.
And we've seen it, you know, for the last decade and a half where the energy sector, you know, our companies here in Houston have struggled quite a bit. So everything in cycles, right? We know that there will be good times. We know that there will be more challenging times. It's how do we navigate that over the course of an entire retirement and remain successful. That's exactly why we want to help you.
Well, I think too, though, truly diversifying your portfolio, not just, you know, so many advisors tell their clients you're diversified, and they're picking up today and seeing, well, I'm not as diversified as I thought because I've lost 20, 25% of my life savings. But true diversification, having a plan that can pivot based on what's going on in the economy right now, that's going to be your biggest thing. Something that can move with whatever direction inflation goes. Maybe inflation keeps rolling, maybe it doesn't. We don't know that, right? So we have to take these days one step at a time so that we can build and move your portfolio. If your portfolio is just a sitting duck, it's left to what happens in the market. What's going on in the newsroom is what's happening in your portfolio. That's not cool.
Pete, one of the ladies that came to the first night of our class, she came in for her course lab, and she brought all of her statements with her. And so we're going through her investment strategy, you know, taking a look under the hood at things. She had 4 different accounts. And across all of those, she must have had 200 different mutual funds, all of them different. And when we put that to the test, what we found is almost all of those 200 funds are pretty much doing the exact same darn thing, which is great when the market's great.
How did she collect 200 different mutual funds? Did she have different 401k plans? Because one of the things you talked about at the Retirement Summit was the common investment tools, and you like to also provide some uncommon ones, the ones that people don't usually discover on their own. How do you get 200 mutual funds? There aren't that many diversified different companies out there. There had to be a lot of the same alphabet stock and overlap.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's the challenge, is some of this she was doing on her own. She actually had a couple of different teams that she was working with on that. But you know, there are only so many companies that you can invest in, right? And so many funds out there. But that's why it's so important to look under the hood. You know, we've got this collection of stuff in our 401ks, our IRAs, and if we've got several different funds, we automatically think we're diversified and we're going to be A-OK when we see environments like this. Folks, that's simply not the case. And so what we look to do with our clients in building a tactical approach to investing, let's see if we can make some minor tweaks and adjustments, use investments that actually don't have that much overlap with one another. Maybe one fund is going up while the other one's kind of sitting still, or maybe even declining a little bit. Over a long period of time, though, that's how we mitigate risk and our chance of significant loss to get consistency that we absolutely have to have all the way through our course of our retirement.
I mean, the common investment tools that you talk about, we've got stocks or stock funds and bond funds, our 401ks or 457s, 403bs. What are maybe some uncommon solutions that you're able to provide avenues to as a financial advisory group like Allied Wealth?
Yeah, and we talk about these individual tools like stocks and bonds, variable annuities, fixed annuities, bank CDs. There's all kinds of stuff in and out of the market. It's really, how do we blend these together in a way that makes sense?
Yes.
You know, a lot of our clients have all of their money tied to more of a tactical approach to get that consistency. We have clients that are comfortable taking more of a passive approach. Maybe we do a combination of that. Pete, we have clients that have no business or desire to be in the market at all.
None, and they're still able to invest their money into vehicles that do behave like the market, but they take zero risk. So those are the kind of vehicles that you want to be educated on, right? Whether it's tactical money management, whether it's structured notes, whether it's whatever the case is, blend it to where it's useful for you. I say it all the time on the radio, everybody's got this unique financial fingerprint, right? We're all different. Every one of us has earned our money different. We all have different experiences. Let's build a plan that ties your financial fingerprint into what you're doing and make it comfortable for you. Understand where the risks are. Do things like that prior to where you don't wake up one day and be like, well, this wasn't what I wanted. That way you know exactly what you're getting. You understand it. You know what you're paying your advisor. You know what type of returns to expect, what type of losses to expect in down markets. That's how you build a plan. Just buying a bill of goods because you bought 10 different mutual funds that you don't know what they do, that's not a plan. And you may not even be truly diversified like you talked about earlier.
Matt, I know that for our viewers out there, we want to do the financial flight plan. I'm also going to explain a little bit about a complimentary book that we're going to be giving out to the first 20 callers. Before I explain that, though, what exactly is the financial flight plan? For folks who maybe are watching the show for the very first time, what are you willing to do for someone who just reaches out to the phone number?
Yeah, so folks, when you give us a call, we want to get to know you, understand your goals. Are you in retirement, planning for retirement now? But we want to understand, you know, what is your tolerance for risk? What is your capacity or your ability to withstand losses like this and navigate the course of a 20 to 30 year retirement? Understanding what's under the hood of your investment plan. Are there some tweaks to make to get more consistency and more diversification? Tax planning, how do we actually use an order of operations with these buckets of money to generate an income stream in retirement? Do we need to bridge the gap on health care, long-term care planning, and the dollars that we leave behind to our loved ones, making sure that they're well taken care of? Those are the essential elements that we want to plan for and build for you.
Matt, that was such a great explanation that Peter actually got a phone call
My
during the
mom
middle
was
of
calling,
it.
Matt. I'm sorry. My mom's
now.
called me twice today on the show. I need to call her
Your
back.
mom is
after
calling. She's telling you to comb your hair back a
Maybe that's
little
what
bit,
it is.
Peter.
Maybe
You're
that's
looking
what
a
it
little, but please call for your own complimentary financial flight plan. For the first 20 callers as well, we want to give out a copy of the Stress-Free Retirement Plan. It is a book that's going to help you figure out how to be stress-free in retirement. Read that book before you come on into the office. We want to get started on your own complimentary financial flight plan for the viewers of the program right here in Houston. That's going to include taking a look at your investments, your taxes, your health choices, and legacy and estate planning. All of that complimentary by calling the phone number right here, 844-944-7555. More On the Money with the team from Allied Wealth when we get back right after this.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome back to On the Money with the team from Allied Wealth. Matt Stevenson, Peter Lott. I'm your host, Spike Spangle. We're talking about the retirement financial flight plan, what that means and how you can get it. But I've got to tell you, for folks who are watching other programs, listening to other radio shows, paying attention to those alerts in their phones, it's really hard not to be emotional. It's really hard not to react emotionally, either through fear or greed. Right now, I would say a lot more people are reacting to fear because of losses. Matt, how do you help people with the emotional aspect of investing?
Listen, guys, this is one of the most important things that we talk about. Diving into the numbers, return, risk, that is all essential to building a plan. But so much of what gets us, especially in environments like this, are the emotional decisions that we make that completely derail all the good work that we've done.
Absolutely.
So we had a client, this was actually during the pandemic, but a good example to use, Barry. So he had a lot of money tied to his company stock, so there were a lot of risk involved there. Some diversified stuff that we were helping him with to manage around losses. But there, I think the bottom of the COVID downturn was about 34, 35%.
Yeah.
Well, his individual company stock, a company he worked for 30 years, was down about 70% at the same time. Talk about risk. And there at the very market bottom there in mid-March, he called us and said, Matt, Ryan, Pete, I cannot stand to be in the market anymore. Get me out right this second. And so we begged the guy, you've got to stick with it, especially with this stock. We cannot sell at this point. You will absolutely derail everything you've worked so hard for. And he begged and pleaded us to do it. And so really the conversation is his money. I have to do what he's asking me to do. Right. But we made him put it in writing, what he was asking for. And to this day, 2+ years later, he still has not gotten back into the market. And think about the returns, especially for last year, that he would have experienced. And that company's stock is at all-time highs right now after a 70% drawdown.
And it's kind of like ignoring your doctor's wishes. I mean, like you said, you have to do what your client wants, but beyond your best wishes, you said, please don't do this.
Exactly.
And that's part of what being a financial advisor is kind of holding people's hands or putting a hand on the shoulder through the storm and saying, we know how to do this. We've seen this before. Now, the difference, though, with this Barry situation is you're not telling everybody right now out there to just hold on. There might be some people who it's time to change their strategy or to actually have a strategy as opposed to just sitting on the sidelines, correct?
Exactly, and that's part of the myth of, the things that we hear all the time. Stick with it. The market always comes back. It'll be there eventually when we need it to. Well, time is a huge factor, and what we can actually stomach to take. the fear of loss is always going to be so much more powerful than our desire to see gains.
Absolutely.
Especially
100%.
when we need these dollars to generate income for us in retirement, for ourselves, for our entire family. And it ain't always going to be perfect, but having a system that we can abide by is essential to remaining successful.
You know, Matt, I had a lady come in 2 days ago in the office. She didn't have a lot of money. She has taken a 35% loss. Ooh. She's with one of the big box firms. She told her advisor that she wanted to add risk to this, but in actuality, she did not need risk. And she said, Pete, I don't know, is a good time to get out? And I said, you got to look at it like this. You've got an old car that it's not fuel efficient. It's breaking down. It's costing you money. It's high fees. You would go trade that car in for a newer car that is more efficient, costs you less to operate. And from here, it will get you further down the road than trying to keep this old clunker on the road. It's almost the exact same thought process, is getting to a strategy that is more efficient, that'll get you through the next time this does this much better, as opposed to where you're at right now. And I felt so sorry for, she is crying in my hands. I've known her for all of 5 minutes, and she's just losing it because she's lost so much money because her advisor just didn't know.
That's what I mean. I think a lot of what you guys do in the offices as financial advisors of Allied Wealth is that you're helping people through what are very, very difficult times right now. This is not the kind of market that we've seen for the last year or so. And the other thing I notice here is two very different stories where you were telling them, please don't change what you're doing. And you're like, get out of this clunker right now. And that's the thing. It's all individual. It really depends on what the goal of the money is.
Exactly. It's not a cookie cutter approach. It's building a relationship with somebody that's here to help and guide you and navigate through uncharted waters that we're seeing right now. But it starts with a phone call. You know, understanding what is your situation? What are your goals? You know, do you want to travel? Do you want to, spend time with your kids, your grandkids? What is important to you to maintain that lifestyle? And how can we cover these elements to help you do that? Simply give us a call, folks. We're here to help.
We want to put together the financial flight plan. Peter, Matt, thank you so much for talking about it today, the risks in retirement, the possible recession that is at hand and how long it might last. For the viewers out here, we would like to offer you not only the complimentary financial flight plan, but also get a copy of the book, Stress-Free Retirement. The first 20 callers will get a complimentary copy of the book, 844-944-7555. Thank you for watching On the Money from the team of Allied Wealth. We'll be back again next week.